Villa and their ownership last week claimed that all this infighting is damaging the league. Where are they getting to with this appeal for unity? Is it pie in the sky? I think Nassif Sawiris at the top of Villa was asking for this.
Well, I think it's completely right. I mean, we've talked about this before. They have to start acting as one for their overall commercial benefit. I think it's perfectly possible that you can have disagreements about various things, and you can all want to win, but votes have to start to be far more unanimous around the table in the Premier League. The debate really should come before. So the lobbying and the discussion of whatever is proposed in terms of votes should all come before, and then by the time you get to the vote, everybody is effectively in consensus, and they're presenting a united front. I don't see a scenario where you should have votes that are borderline.
There's three types of owners in the Premier League. There's owners like me that once upon a time bought football clubs because they supported the club. They wanted a bit of attention as a result of it. They wanted to be successful, and God forbid they might want to make a little bit of money out of it. Then you've got the private equity players, the American guys that are in it for the business of sport in terms of profitability. Then you've got the Gulf State guys that are in it for a very different for influence and all kinds of things. So you've got three different ideologies, and they're not going to meet in the middle. And the only way they'll meet in the middle is you take relegation off the table. And that's what PSR may achieve in the longer game. The poking of Manchester City by other 16 clubs or 18 clubs or how many clubs are going to keep on pushing the deconstruct of the Premier League that's currently happening. It's happening in other sports. It's a certain way of operating. It's a certain way of operating that immense influence, power and wealth has at its centre. You're seeing it happen at Live Golf. And all of this with alongside PSR could drive situations like the European Super League again, because the ultimate equation is clubs like Manchester City and clubs that have the ability to be able to spend what they want, like Newcastle, do not like the structure that's currently existing. They don't want it. They don't think it's fair or representative of the ambitions and aspirations that they have. And when you've got three ideologies, as in the terms of the three ownership models I've just described, you are never going to get an accord. You might get a bit of tactical voting every now and again, but you're not going to get an accord because you're fundamentally departing from each one of those principles.
The three ideologies as Simon describes.
Well, I might not describe them exactly as Simon's described them, but broadly people are in groups. But I think that they can come together. I think once the City case is fully out of the way, as long as that is dealt with in a way that people are satisfied with, and people don't try and unpick the outcome of the process, and that applies both ways, and that is then historical. I think at that point there can be a
they will
way
unpick
forward.
the process, Stefan, because if Man City are found guilty, they'll appeal it, which by its very definition is unpicking the process.
I don't
they won't
think it is.
accept
I'm
it.
talking about something beyond an appeal. I agree with you around an appeal. I'm talking about people trying to come up with conspiracy theories about. So if City are, let's say City are, these charges are not proven against City, that has to be the end of it. It can't just be another round. This would be then something like 10 or 15 years of various rounds of people attempting to pursue these alleged wrongdoers.
Yeah,
this has to be the last time.
Well, if that's going to be the end of it,
Agreed.
we'll miss you, Stefan.
And that, of course.
He'd be the next regulator, wouldn't he?
And at that point, everybody has to move on. I think it is a good time, especially also on the back of the APT rules and the changes that are coming in now, to draw a line under this regulation. I think the tribunal has said to the clubs now, there is a limit to how far you can go from a competition law perspective in putting in place rules that could be perceived to be anti-competitive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think they're pushed right up against them this year. So we are going to go into a new phase of, I think, and I would hope, a more cooperative, conciliatory group of people around the table, and I think it is important that it happens.
Not before time. Just before we're into the last bit, I said we're going to talk about Everton. There's a nice message for you and I, Stefan. Here we go. The clown Jim White, that must be me, and Stefan Borson going to press on with the daily hammering of Everton. I don't know that we're going to do that, but anyway, thanks for that. No name in it. But that's fine by us.
We understand that the Freidkins have formally appointed Nolan Partners to look for a chief executive, which I would say is a sign of white smoke in this situation, and they are probably approaching the point at which they will get the approval that they need from the Premier League. There are a couple of other approvals, and there were some rumours that they have actually got the other approvals, but I haven't seen those confirmed, which are the FCA and the FA approval. But I don't think the Freidkins will have a problem getting the approvals. There is this issue that they have which is a legacy of the 777 situation, which is not going to be resolved quickly in the US, but I don't think will necessarily cut across the takeover process. So the only slightly surprising thing, is if you look at how quickly Sir Jim Ratcliffe got his approval from the Premier League under their owners and directors test, even though it was over Christmas and New Year,
right?
I think it took 6 weeks. And it's already taken a bit longer than that for Freidkin. So you just wonder why they haven't got the approval yet. I suspect there's no issue, but really that should have come through by now.
Is that predominantly to do with the fact that the Man United are a PLC compliant business that operate a different way?
I don't know. Freidkin is a reputable businessman with good standing. He owns a European club. There's no issues, as far as I'm aware, from anything that's on that list of matters that should be a problem from an owners and directors test. So I would have assumed that he would have been able to quite quickly get the approval necessary from the Premier League. It's possible that they didn't seek it.
But you, like me, think it's a done deal, right?
I think everything I hear that the deal will happen.
They've paid down other people. They've bought out debt that other people are putting in there.
Yeah,
like
I suspect they put more money in as well. I mean, this is a low period of cash for clubs, all clubs, and that's why we've seen over the last few weeks confirmation of fundraisings from Aston Villa, Newcastle. Tens of millions of pounds have both been put into those clubs by way of equity. I don't think that a new owner of Everton will put equity in until they actually have the reins. But I suspect that in the background they put in some additional debt, which is now getting very big, but just to pay the bills, just to pay the wage bill. At the end of each month, they've got a very big wage bill that they have to pay.
Sure.
And I think cash is relatively low at Everton. And so I would expect I expect the deal to already have happened, but it surely must be imminent.
Okay.
Of course it is.
One of those days, Farhad will pick up again when I give him a tinkle. Stefan, thank you so much. Stefan Borson with us live on talkSPORT this lunchtime. We're coming up to 12:30.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.